Welcome to the Magic on the Inside podcast by the Sisters Enchanted, where we chat magic, hot topics, personal development, and good old-fashioned life. Brew up something delicious and sit with us for a spell. Hey everyone, it's Sarah here, founder and head magic maker of the Sisters Enchanted, where it's our mission to make magic mainstream. On this episode of the Magic on the Inside podcast, I chatted with Kimra Luna, who is definitely an everyday witch making some everyday magic. She used personal development and mindset with a sprinkling of magic on top to create an extraordinary life for her and her family, creating a group of raving fans and a very abundant and prolific business where she has been able to, in turn, change the lives of others around her. So listen in as I chat with Kimra Luna. Hey, Kimra.
Hi, thanks for having me today. Super excited to talk with you.
Yeah, so everybody who's watching or listening, this is Kimra Luna. She is definitely an everyday witch making some everyday magic in her life. She is an amazing online business owner and presence and wealth of knowledge in both business, but also in all the witchy woo stuff, which she has used to catapult herself to where she is now. So Kimra, welcome again. And why don't you just tell us quick a little bit about you?
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Kimra Luna. I'm a personal branding and online business strategist, and I work primarily with service-based entrepreneurs to grow their businesses online. I'm also a single mom of 3 kids, and I'm an activist, and I'm super witchy, even though, you know, I look punk rock on the outside. And so yeah, like I'm actually a Reiki master, I'm a medium, I'm a medical intuitive, all these other things. I don't really do those as my business, but they're all part of me, and they're kind of behind the scenes of my business, helping my business be able to grow and helping me be able to really follow my intuition when it comes to, you know, having the things I want in life and business.
Which is super awesome. So for anybody, you know, coming onto this or listening and watching, I started following Kimra like 2 years ago, I think, more than that, 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago, I stumbled upon Kimra online and was really inspired by her story. And Kimra is a mom, as she mentioned, and did some really amazing stuff. And seeing Kimra do it really made me think, wow, I can do this too. And I went to her in-person business event this past fall, and Kimra, you totally wove like law of attraction and tarot and visibility and being yourself into that, which it left me so inspired and like motivated to go home and do stuff. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey from, I always like to say, like muggle world to magical world and how that changed you and allowed you to live this amazing life that you've created.
Yeah, I've always had been very, you know, intuitive, even as a kid. You know, I've kind of always just had it in me. But the most kind of awakening, I guess, point of like, oh, you're kind of witchy was literally something from the universe telling me you're a witch. So I had always had a fear of water most of my life. I'd actually drowned multiple times in this lifetime where they had to resuscitate me to bring me back to life. And I could never figure out why I had this crazy thing around water. I didn't even like water touching my face. Like I didn't like to touch, like it was just this crazy, bizarre thing. And everyone's like, what the heck is wrong with you? You know, like, it's so weird to be afraid of water. And so when I was pregnant with my first son, back in 2008, I was pregnant with my first son, and I really wanted to have a water birth, but I'm afraid of water, right? So, oh my gosh, I don't know how this is going to work out. My husband, he's soon to be my ex-husband, but my husband, he was like, are you sure? Like, you know, like, you're really scared of water, you know? No, like I can do it. And so anyways, I had been meditating on it, and like, I was like, oh, you know, like I really want to do this. And I actually stepped into the shower, right? Of course, water is running. I step into the shower, and then I hear this voice saying, you are a witch. And I was like, what? Like, what just happened? Like, did anybody else hear that? I'm like, the only person in the bathroom, duh. But I'm like looking around like, what was that? What did that come from? Yeah. You know, so I take the shower, and I'm just thinking like, wow, I'm a witch? Like, this is like weird. I was like, that makes sense when I wouldn't like water so much. I mean, they drowned witches, right? So like, maybe I was one of my past life. Like, I don't know what was going on. So anyways, I remember I spoke to my mother-in-law at that point, and I was like, yeah, like I'm like a witch or something, you know? Like, I was just like, and she's just like, huh? Like that, okay, like what does that mean? I'm like, I don't know, like, but it just came to me, you know. And this was way before it was like kind of like almost like a trend to like be
Right.
witchy, you know. Like this was like, you know, just way. And I mean, I watched Harry Potter and I love Harry Potter, but it wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, I'm a witch, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was, and plus, you know, I'm from Idaho. It's like they don't really have a bunch of like witchy people there. I mean, maybe now, but like back then, like, as a kid growing up, so it wasn't like, you know, this natural thing. It just, but then it just came to me, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But all right, you know. And so I just kept, you know, practicing my personal development and studying things. And then I started getting more into kind of more witchy stuff, because I started really getting into more like crystals and like earthy things, and really using those things to ground myself. And that's more where like it came into like being able to attract like the lifestyle I want, is because I know I need to be grounded. I need to be present with my kids, and you know, having lots of spiritual practices and just dabbling with different things has really helped me a lot throughout the years.
Yeah. I love how in the past you've talked about that, you know, you have been so successful in business, and you knew you would be successful. Like you prepared yourself for that. You created that life like in your mind before it came to you. And it's that kind of like everyday magic that you were able to use to like really go from, I mean, you were like in a completely different life to the
Yeah.
life you lead now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, and I mean, like I I knew that there was always something bigger, and so I spent so much time like journaling and reading books, and like I just dove into everything I possibly could. I was like, I'm gonna become a Reiki master. I'm gonna become like I just like went all in, and because I knew that something was there that was gonna really help me really truly love my life. And you know, I've actually been criticized a few times on like kind of some different podcasts where they're kind of a little confrontational a little bit, where they're like, well, you're following like your intuition, like how do you know that's like the right business decision? I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, like oh, like do you like split test these things? I'm like, oh no, if it looks good, it looks good, and it's gonna work, you know. Like what are you talking about? You know, like they expect like, oh, I have all these exact strategies and all these things. I was like, oh no, if it feels good, that's what I do. And I started doing my business, doing a lot of webinars, because webinars feel good to me. It felt easy to me. It felt like the simplest way. I didn't have any funnels at all for like 3 years in my business. You know, I was just like, I'm just going to do things as simple as possible. I don't need to do things the way everybody else is doing things. I just want to go with the flow and just do it. And I think because I had been working on my intuition for so many years, it made that easy for me. And I was just like, I'm just going to do it. I don't care what anybody else says. I don't know how many times I had people like, Kimra, you need to do these $30,000 masterminds, and you need to do all this crazy high end, all this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I would actually rather sell something that's $50 a month. So, you know, like let me just do what I want to do, you know, and it's been able to work out great. And so I think sometimes we just don't trust that intuition, and our intuition is telling us things all the time, and we don't really look for the signs. So I recently went to Tulum, Mexico, and I hadn't actually like been out of the country in like quite a while. I don't travel a lot because, you know, I have 3 kids and stuff.
yeah.
I don't travel a lot, but it was like a few days, like a short trip, and so I was like, okay, I could. It was in the middle of the week, so I'm like, oh, I can do it. My nanny will be here with the kids. I can do it. And so I go on this trip. And on the way back, you know, I was kind of reflecting on the trip, and I ended up having, on the way to the airport, 12 hawks came to me as we were driving down like the freeway to get to the airport. 12 of them. And one of them, to me, they all represent the months of the year to me. And I know this is like if I was on somebody else's podcast, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about?
No, I like it. I love it. Keep talking.
Like, so there's these like 12 hawks. So now I've been like journaling. I wrote like a different page for like each hawk. And so I've been like journaling and tapping in and like asking like, what is this hawk's name? What is the energy of that hawk? Like, what was that hawk trying to tell me? Like, and I feel like it represents each month of 2019, because I was really heavily thinking about that over like the mastermind. And that's what we were talking about during the mastermind and what our goals were and what we're going to do. And so all these 12 hawks came to me. So I'm still working it out, like what they wanted to say to me and what that means. And I think I'm going to talk to my one friend. He's an Apache healer. So maybe he can help me communicate and connect and really interpret that. But I mean, it's like if I was on other business podcasts, they'd be like, Kimra, you're nuts. You know, like these hawks are going to be guiding your business. Well, yeah, they are. You know, they're guiding my business for 2019, and I'm going to listen to what the message that they're saying to me. And so everybody else probably think I'm nuts, but that's what I'm doing.
No, I love it. And I think that too, like business owner or non-business owner, that's a really good, like what you just said about you saw something and it represented something too. This is a question I get all the time from people. And they're like, how do I know if it's a sign or not? And I'm like, did it seem like a sign to you? Did it feel like a sign? So somebody else would have just been driving and been like, oh, I don't know, that's a lot of birds, you know, but you saw it and you felt something into that and it meant something.
Over like an hour and a half period of time. So it's like we're driving down a freeway for an hour and a half to get to the Cancun airport. And it was just like, there's a hawk. Drive some more. Oh, there's another hawk. There's another hawk. Like it was like nonstop. And my personal assistant, she was sitting on the other side of the car. She didn't see any hawks. These hawks were coming to me. They weren't. She was looking at the window. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just
no.
You know?
That's such a good, like, because like I said, people, they ask, that's a question people ask all the time. How do I know if it's a sign? And in like, well, I don't, if it felt like it, then it is. If it didn't feel like it, then it's not. And it's a really good example of you listening to your intuition and being like, this is a sign and I'm going to incorporate this in my life and my business to keep moving forward, which is what's brought you to where you are now. So I know that when I saw you in September and went to your event, you talked about brave visibility and really putting yourself out there. And I think that is business owner or non-business owner, like a way to really propel yourself forward in life and speak your truth. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that journey's been like for you, being more visible and very brave this past year?
Yeah, so this past year has taken a lot of bravery when it comes to some things that I've posted. You know, I've been growing my current business for about 4.5 years, and I was always, even before that, I had like a mommy blog, and I always had been pretty transparent about things. But my ex-husband, he really didn't like me to post about certain things that were going on with me or certain topics, like even around like shame or the fact that, you know, I had been molested when I was a kid or I was raped when I was 20 or all these things. Like he just didn't want me sharing those things publicly. So I did keep those to myself because out of respect for my partner. But now that we've separated, I'm like, okay, like this has kind of opened up a whole new can of worms because I feel like I have all these stories that can really serve my audience. And I was very open about a lot of things, even before I had businesses. Like I had started a vegan mommy Facebook group 10 years ago. I didn't have a business with it. I was just wanting to create a support group. And then I ended up supporting all these women. I shared a lot of very raw and very vulnerable things in those communities. I mean, especially because I was pregnant most of the time. So, you know, I'm talking about all sorts of stuff going on with my yoni and all sorts of weird things, you know, so I was like keeping it real, you know? Yeah. And, you know, so anyways, I you know, with my current business, you know, everybody had really seen me as like, oh, Kimra has all this success. She lives in this high rise in New York. She has the husband with like the long hair and he's like super hot. You know, he looks like a total hipster. And like, you know, she has the 3 super cute kids and they all have long hair too. And, you know, it was like I was living a dream to everybody else. They're like, oh my God, Kimra has the life, you know? And then when I knew I had to make a post that I was separating from my husband, I knew that it was going to just be so hard, not only like on myself, on my heart. It was just so painful to post it. But I knew for other people, it was kind of going to crush their dreams. And it did. So I made this post and all these people were just like, oh my gosh, Kimra, like my whole dreams are like shattered. Like people were telling me their dreams were shattered because they were like, you had everything, Kimra, and like all this stuff. And I'm just like, it's just a marriage. It's all right. Like I'll find a boyfriend. I'll get married another time or something. You know? Like it's fine, you know? But they were just really devastated because I had already spent years working through it, but they had it, you know, it was like a shocker to my audience. They were like, whoa, like, kind of freaking out. And, you know, it was a very big deal for my family because I was very close with my in-laws and things like that. And, you know, I had to be very mindful of how I said things because obviously I don't want them to feel like I'm forcing any blame onto one person or anything like that. So I had to be very mindful of the wording. But, you know, I feel like it was important for me to share because other things that happened, and yes, there was kind of a little bit of backlash, and some people kind of were just like, oh, maybe you didn't try hard enough. And I'm like, yo, I spent like $80,000 on therapy and coaches. I think like, you can't tell me I didn't try hard enough. Like, we did the work. But, you know, there's a lot of judgment around divorce. People might think it's a failure. And especially because my business, you know, there's all these stories like, oh, Kimra went from welfare to 7 figures. And there's always like extravagant things because, you know, Forbes all wants, you know, clickbait basically. So like clickbait, they made me into clickbait, you know.
I remember that art. Like, I remember when that went
like,
viral.
oh my God, I'm so clickbaity right now. Like, I hated it. I was so upset. I was like, oh my God, I'm clickbait. But anyways, they, you know, everybody has seen these things. And so I had to make a post where I was like shattering people and breaking their hearts, you know, and I did it. But what ended up happening is I started getting messages from people saying, thank you so much for being raw and vulnerable with us. Thank you so much for sharing that sometimes things aren't perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that money doesn't just buy happiness. You know, thank you so much for, you know, talking about this topic because I actually feel I need to leave my husband. You know, thank you for talking about this because now that has encouraged me to get counseling with my husband. So, I mean, the stories that I ended up getting after that were just so powerful. And I was so grateful that I was able to serve people, even though it was a very raw, very vulnerable. I was so terrified to make this post. And it is what it is. And the number one thing that's searched on Google is Kimra Luna divorce. That's my number one keyword. I mean, great. You know what I mean? Like, that's what people are searching about me, but people want to learn drama, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no, but it's like the thing, like seriously, like if you go on Google and search Kimra Luna, the word divorce
comes up.
I'm like, and I'll go on someone else's computer or other things, and it always happens every single time. I'm just
my goodness.
It makes me roll my eyes, but you know, it is what it is. Like you can't do anything about it now. And then recently, more recently in April of this year, I came out of the closet. So coming out of the closet was a very important thing for me. You know, my husband had always, you know, known my sexuality, but like most people in my life didn't know. Most of my friends didn't know. My husband's family didn't know. There was all these people who didn't know. So I was like, okay, what's everyone going to think about this, right? And I was terrified to even to get on stage to do it. I mean, and I've been on stage tons of times. I've done tons of webinars. I've done a zillion live streams. I mean, I can't even count how many I've done, you know? And like, I get on stage at one of my friend's event and I asked him, I was like, can I use this stage as like a platform to come out of the closet? And he was just like, okay, like, you know, just, I guess go for it, right? So I'm like, okay. So I go there and we're like in a room, it's about 50, 60 people. And I had written my story out, but I couldn't rehearse it because it was kind of like re-traumatizing me almost a little bit from my childhood and things like that. So I didn't really rehearse it. I only rehearsed it one time in the car on the way there with my friend. That was like it. And so I opened up the thing and I my phone, and I had my phone in my hand and I was standing there talking to the mic and I'm like shaking the whole time. And I don't normally shake when I go on stage, but I was so terrified to share my sexuality with people. It was just so scary. And so I ended up sharing my story, and it was all captured on film. And then I ended up posting it on my YouTube channel. And then I decided to email it out to my entire list of 65,000 people. So I'm like, 65,000 people are going to know that I'm gay, you know? So, yay, you know, queer me, you know? And so anyways, I send this email out completely. I mean, this is way more terrifying than posting the divorce thing, because I was just like, I don't know what people are going to think, what's going to happen. So there was some backlash. There was about, 2,000 people had actually opted out of my email list within a few days of sending that email out, which was so hurtful for me because a lot of those people had been on my list for years. Like, I went and looked and I was like, oh my God, this person opted in 2014 and now they're opting out of my list now because I'm gay. Like what is going on, So it was very hurtful and it was very sad, but it made me realize, I was just sorting, and those people just weren't gonna be part of my community for the long haul. Even though 4 years thinks they would have been already, they would have been loyal to me at that point, but apparently not, And I ended up losing social media followers. But I did, again, like that other experience when I posted about the divorce, I did get people saying how grateful they were for me sharing, how grateful that I was being vulnerable and sharing who I am. A lot of people saying, oh my God, Kimra, I can relate to your story. I grew up in a small town too. And I was, the lesbian kid, and like, I didn't know who to talk to or anything. I was like, yeah, that was me. Like, I was like, oh, I like this girl. Does she have a crush on me? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not even allowed to say anything, like, like, it's so like, it was just so weird to grow up in a place like that. But people were so happy that I shared and I spoke up, and I've just been being myself. I mean, I always had posted things about like supporting LGBTQ people and things like that. I've always posted that like for the past 12 years of my life. Since I've been on social media, I've always posted stuff about that. But now it was like, oh, that makes sense why Kimra is always posting those things, and because she wants to support those types of people who are in that same group as her, and so it's just really, I know I've had to just follow my gut when it comes to that, because I didn't need to come out publicly. I could have kept that in for several more years, and it wouldn't have changed anything in my business. But I wanted to be able to be real and authentic with people. And so that's why I just, boom, came straight out and was just like, you know what? Like, I'll probably go find me a girlfriend too. Let's see what, and so it's been this interesting process that I've been going through over the past, few years. But it's good because I know I can just follow my intuition, and I know the universe is just going to give me what it needs to give me, and hopefully give me the strength to not be so scared to post, because I'm still terrified. I just do it anyway because I know the impact that it's going to have in the long run.
Mm-hmm. And that's what like I love about your story and your journey and your version. I always talk about like, what's your version of everyday magic, And I think for you that it's kind of come in a real organic way. Like, you have all of the law of attraction stuff, speaking your truth. For you, it's more than like crystals, candles, tarot cards, which like I'm sure it is also,
Which
because
I love,
crystals, tarot.
Yeah, it's like I got my tarot cards right here, Like,
I mean, like at your business event, like that we had a meditation to start and like ground after lunch and tarot card pulled. Like, so it's definitely part of you. But it's really been like an organic journey into speaking your truth, which is, in my opinion, like the best form of everyday magic is speaking your truth, following your intuition, and like living in your soul's light, which is, no matter how difficult it's been, you've done, and like you've followed that, which is so hard to do and holds so many of us back. And you freaking are just like, well, I'm just going to do it.
Well, I feel like I just have a big capacity for it too. Like, I feel like it's my nature. I mean, even with like my birthdays, it's like my birthday's 2/11. It's like, those are just ones. And that's just direct connection to source. Like, that's like what that is. And so I feel like I just have a major capacity to be able to facilitate large communities of people. And not everybody has that. Yeah. And even if someone is a business owner and they're like, oh, like I want to have this big, huge community, you don't have to have a big, huge community to have success. You can have a small, intimate communities and still have success. You have to do what's best for you and follow your intuition. And for me, it's always been big, 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 like huge. Like, it's like, if I could be like Oprah, like that's where like I want to be, like it's always just like, how can I get to the next level? How can I get to the next level? And how can I attract amazing opportunities to myself? And one of the things that's recently happened is like this past year, because of going through the divorce, it really hindered my intuition. It hindered my creativity. I felt like I just really couldn't truly be myself. And so it took me like a whole year and a half to really, kind of pick up the pieces, I guess, so to speak, of what was going on with me. And I knew I needed to really ground myself. Like, I was like, what's going to be grounding for me, going to be fun for me, going to be exciting for me? And so I'm starting a new punk rock podcast with my bestie, Frankie. She's actually sleeping on my couch right now over here while I'm doing this interview. So she's, just taking a nap. And then I'm going to start a live stream show with my sister, because I feel like I just need to get back to my roots and like who I am. And me and my sister, we don't get a lot of time to connect because she lives across the country. And I was like, well, we could play video games together. I was like, well, why don't we just make it into a live stream show? Like, that'll be fun. So, I really want to just connect with my roots again and my punk rock again, and just be more of myself. Like a lot of people are like, oh, Kimra, you're so much yourself online. Oh, well, you guys haven't seen nothing. Like I can be even more myself, you know? And so I think it's going to be an interesting journey in the next year. But I know I just want to do what's fun, what's light, what's playful.
Yeah.
I'm a big, huge fan of Abraham Hicks, and Abraham's always like, go for relief, go for what feels good. Whatever decision is going to make you feel relief and feel good, do it. So I've let go of a bunch of my programs that I'm selling, things that I felt I was kind of clinging on for dear life, but I've let go of, you know, so many courses and things that, and I'm just no longer going to be selling those things. I'm only going to be selling what I love and what I care about. And I just keep focusing on what I enjoy doing.
Yeah, I love it. And that's all that like lower chakra stuff too, like the passion and desire and like your sacral chakra and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
sounds like you're really like you're moving forward with that, which is
Yes, very much so, because I was very stuck over the past year and a half. There was a lot of stagnant, I feel, energy, and I just couldn't get through it. I was just trying everything, you know, and then finally it's like, I was just like, you know what, like, let's just go, Kimra, let's just be the true you. Like, what have you been preaching to people for years? To be proud, Kimra, duh. Go back to that, do it, get into it, and so that's what I'm doing now, and I'm just going full force into it.
I love it. I know I'm always in awe when you post because you don't shy away from posting like the hard stuff and the controversial stuff and the stuff that like calls people on their shit. Like you do that, and sometimes I see your post and I'm like, I need an ounce of that bravery over here. And like you're just you are doing it. Like you're putting that passion out there.
Yeah, well, even yesterday there was a guy who had posted like, oh, here's a list of these cool people I want to work with in the next year. And some guy had commented on the post. He's like, oh, I would never work with that guy. He's freaking racist and sexist. Like, you shouldn't work with him, blah, blah, blah. And I commented because I had experience with that guy too. And I was like, yeah, that guy's a freaking racist, freaking sexist, you know, POS, you know? And so like everybody on the thread is like, oh, you guys are just haters, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, he literally told me that I deserve to be raped because I disagreed with a comment on one of his threads. And I was completely polite to him. And he said that to me. I was like, imagine how he talks to women behind closed doors.
Right?
Okay, he's saying that to me publicly on a thread. I was like, I have screenshots. You guys want to see? Like, you know, like, this guy is a freaking jerk. And all these other people are like, oh, I respect him so much. I'm like, you literally respect a human trash bag. You know, like, this guy deserves to be thrown in a dumpster. You know, like, what, like, I mean, it was crazy. And I don't even care. Like, I'm just like, whatever. You guys could be screenshotting this and showing him it. I don't freaking give a rat's. Like, it don't matter. I got more followers than him. I have more integrity than him. And it don't freaking matter. Like, I literally don't care.
I know you like post and you call people on their stuff. And I like I said, sometimes I'm like, oh, I need an ounce of Kimra's like bravery right now. She has so much. Because we live in that bubble of not wanting to like hurt people or like whatever. Yeah. And you're just like, dude,
yeah, hurt people or be controversial.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
People that are like, oh, well, I don't want to talk about, you know, my feminism beliefs or I call it like womanist beliefs, you know, or, you know, like I don't want to talk about my spirituality or, you know, things like that. And I'm just like, I just go for it. Like, I just talk about all of it. And sometimes it's kind of surprising because I'll see someone that like likes my things and I'm like, wow, that person is like really super conservative. I'm actually kind of really happy that they've clicked like on my thing. At least they're kind of seeing a different point of view on something, you know? So right. I think it's really important to really share and speak our truths. And sometimes, yeah, it takes a lot to really balance that throat chakra. And my throat chakra is very closed up in a lot of ways, just from the divorce and the separation, because there's a lot of things I can't talk about it publicly and things. So it was like, I did feel there was a lot of that closed up, but I had to do a lot of healing and a lot of journaling around that. And there was just, I mean, even getting into dating world, all these like limiting beliefs that pop up, I was like, oh, there's another limiting belief. Let's start journaling that one out, you know?
Yeah. So like so I know you journal. What are your favorite what are your magical tools of choice? I know you had your pendulum.
My pendulum is one of my favorite magical tools of choice. So I use this for truth testing, and it's spinning. I'm not spinning it. It just starts doing it. It is like my favorite. Like, I'm not even doing it. It just does it on its own. And so I love my pendulum. I do a lot of truth testing, I guess, so to speak, with it. And I have this one really great story where when I was back on welfare, I had food stamps, and, you know, you have a food stamp card, and I, you know, called the card number to see what was left on it. And there was like $19 left. And to feed me, I was like hugely pregnant and my husband for like a week. So I'm like, oh, great, you know? And so I was like, okay, pendulum, which store do we need to go to? The pendulum chooses the most expensive store out of all of the grocery stores. It chooses the one that's 100% USDA organic store, right? Like I'm like, oh great, like we're gonna get like a can of beans, like that's
right.
it. You know? So anyways, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna trust the pendulum. So I go to the grocery store. I'm with my husband. He's like, oh my God, everyone's staring at us. But because I was using my pendulum, picking up the items and asking the pendulum if I should put the item in the cart or not. So I did that, and then I kept asking the pendulum, oh, are we done shopping? And it would tell me yes or no. If it said, you know, obviously if it said no, you're not done, I would just keep going. If it said yes, I would stop. And so it said yes. I stopped. I went to the counter, right? And it was a little over what we had, the amount we had. It was like $22 or something. But then the guy said, hey, well, if you sign up for this thing, you get a 10% discount. I was like, holla, you know, that's right? So we ended up signing up for the thing. We got the discount, and it was like we literally had like 15 cents left. Like on like,
oh my gosh, that's such a good story.
And then I know I'm like all for it. And so anyways, we went home, and yeah, all the groceries was just enough that we needed until the next week, until they put more money on our food stamp card. So I mean, it was crazy. So I'm all like, after that day, I'm just like, and this is the same pendulum that did that. The same
like
one,
all in.
years and years ago. This is the same pendulum. I haven't lost it. It's the same one, and it totally was just. I'm all in on the pendulum. So I love my pendulum. Whenever I need to ask for guidance, and I try my best not to rely on it, because I feel like you do need to develop your intuition on its own. But for this, it's like if there's very specific things where I'm just like, okay, I want to go to this, this, and this, like which is going to be the ultimate one for me, for everybody involved, which is the best choice. And oftentimes I'll do that with my pendulum if there's just too many decisions. But I do like to just follow my own intuition now. I don't use it as much as I used to. I did sleep with it last night because I was like, you know what, I've been neglecting you. I haven't been using it a lot, you know? So I wanted to like give it some of my energy.
Okay,
But so I really love my pendulum. I really love journaling. Especially I do like a rage journal. And I like to burn things on the full moon and the new moon. So I just rage because I'm just an angry, fiery person. Like I can't help it. Like I'm just feisty. So I just rage in a journal, and then I like rip it up and burn it. And I love doing that. That's really something that I feel it just relieves a lot of pressure off of me. It helps me release things, helps me let go of things. It's just like this symbolic thing that just works out really, really, really super well for me. And I don't do a lot of like meditation sort of things. I find like when I meditate, I actually start getting more anxiety. So I kind of just don't really do it. I haven't found the right practice for it, maybe, but like I don't really do that too much. But I think the main thing for me is just having self-awareness of when like something is feeling off or not right. I really like to navigate myself and be like, why am I feeling this way? Like, is that something that's like a sign, like I need to stop something? Is it a sign I need to go forward? Mm-hmm. Like, I really like to kind of tap into my own, using my own body as the tool and the vessel of like what is going on and stuff like that. So those are my three, I guess. My own body, and then my pendulum, and my journal.
I love it. I love that. I love the your own body thing.
Fire.
I know. All the fire. So many lighters. All right. So you want to do a quick round of this or that? It's a little something we do here. It's just a few. Fun. I have like only a few of them written down. So, all right, I'll just ask you this or that, and you got to tell me which one you like best. All right. Pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
That's a hard one.
I know, it's a little hard question.
Day or night?
Night.
Books or podcasts?
Podcasts.
Another hard one. Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
All right, two left. Cooking or ordering takeout?
Cooking.
Really?
I love cooking. Yeah.
Yeah? I didn't know that about you.
Very often, but when I do, I love it.
I freaking hate cooking. Pens or pencils?
Pens, but I do also love pencils too. So that one's actually pretty hard for me. But I think I'm gonna stick with pens. I have an obsession with this particular blue pen. It has to be this one, or I don't use a pen. Like I get mad if I'm at a place and they give me a different pen. I'm like, that's not my pen. I'm like digging my bag for my own pen because I don't want to.
Pens are so weird. I posted a thread in my group recently just asking like, what do you guys like to write with? Like I just bought a new planner and I think it had like the most comments of any thread recently. I was like,
people are very particular about their pen or their pencils. My boyfriend, he only uses pencils. Like he doesn't use pens like on paper. He only uses pencils. And so I got him these like really cool pencils from Portugal. They like kind of like soak the wood in like these essences, and they smell really, really amazing. It's like there's only one pencil place that makes pencils in all of Portugal, and they make them. They smell like this weird. You're gonna have to Google it now, but it's like, they're so cool. I was like, these are the coolest pencils ever. You know, he told me like pencils, and so I was like he mentioned that maybe on like our second date or something. And he's like, oh, I use pencils when I write and journal and write poetry and stuff. And I was just like, oh, you know, and I kind of just kept it in my head. And then I was like, oh yeah, because there's this pencil store in Brooklyn. I've been wanting to buy some of pencils, but I don't know anybody that uses pencils. Everybody uses pens, you know. So I was like, I had found it. And I was like obsessed with their Instagram feed, and I was just like, now I have someone to buy pencils for, so it makes me very happy.
Amazing. Like you attracted that also.
I know, and then I bought him custom pencils with like his brand and like engraved on it. Like it's kind of like they emboss it. I guess it's like gold. Like they like press it in like a stamp almost like thing. So I got him ones for his with his brand name on it.
The best presents ever.
I know. I have discovered, like, I didn't think that gifts were my top love language, but now I think they are. I'm kind of like becoming a little obsessed with like, ooh, what are like the clever things I can like buy for a person? Like,
that's awesome. You're even shifting in your love language. Like that's real shift.
I feel love languages shift all the time. I think it depends on who you're dating, even like who you're with, like, and what they really appreciate. And when I had bought him those pencils, just the way his face like lit up, I was just like, oh my God. Like, and he had told me, he's like, I've never had a woman who just like bought thoughtful things for me, you know. He's so like, he's like, it's almost weird, you know. And I was just like, well, get used to it because I'm doing it all the time, you know. I love it. So
awesome. That's so cool. So just like a last minute tip. So anybody who's listening to this and is like, wow, this woman seems so inspirational. What would you say to somebody who's looking to make some everyday magic in their life to just really like make big change and shift? What is your like big thing you want to share with them?
I mean, I would just focus on what feels good to you. You know, there's so many, you know, sorts of ways where you can, you know, get help and support. It's like, oh, is it going to be essential oils? Is it going to be crystals? Is it going to be using a pendulum? Is it going to be journaling? There's so many routes. There's no one right route. It's really the route that works just best for you. And I think sometimes we'll like read a book and they're like, oh, you got to do this exact method. And even when I do like, you know, spells and things like that, I kind of just do it my own way. I'm just like, it's all about the intention, you know, like my intention is this to come out of this. And if I'm doing this the right way, then I'm doing it the right way. If I'm doing it the wrong way, whatever, I still set the intention. So who cares, you know? And so I feel like just do what's best for you, do what feels good to you, and just keep on going that path. And you're gonna find the things that truly just give you joy. Some people, they need a morning routine. To me, I'm just like, morning routine, I ain't waking up at 4 a.m. Like, who are all these people that wake up at 4 a.m.? Like, I saw a quote the other day. It was like J.K. Rowling's. Someone had posted the ink, the ink had said like, oh, the most successful people in the world wake up at 4 a.m. Yeah. And J.K. Rowling's like retweeted it, and she was like, oh yeah, right, you know, like or like great, thanks, you know, like it's just like really, you know, because I'm just like, no, I do not know people. The only people that wake up at 4 a.m. are people that are training to run a marathon. Nobody else wakes up at that time. You know,
I'm not up at that time.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's 9 a.m. and like my assistant comes in the door. You know, I'm just like, oh yeah, I should probably been up an hour ago. You know, so, and I do wake up early sometimes, but it's pretty rare. I would much rather sleep in and then just work really late. I'd rather work until like 2 a.m. rather than wake up early. So
yeah, just do your thing. Like do what works for you, right?
Yes, exactly.
Not what everybody else says. Yeah. Well, so this has been so much fun, Kimra. You guys can find Kimra just search her out, Kimra Luna. You're the only Kimra Luna, to my knowledge, that you will find.
I'm the only one in the whole world, actually. There's no other person with the name Kimra Luna in the world.
Yeah, so just search Kimra Luna.
You will find me.
Yeah, on Instagram and YouTube. And I was totally seeing your Instagram posts from your Mexico trip and was so jealous. So you can follow Kimra on YouTube and Instagram, where she's
well,
got
you could have asked me beach or mountains, and I would have been like mountains. Because I'm like at the beach, everyone's like, oh, don't you want to be at the beach? Because I had commented on someone's post, they were like up in like Massachusetts at like some punk show, and I was like, oh, like I wish I was there. So like, you're in like Tulum right now. Like, why would you wish you were here? It's cold as hell. I was like, I would much rather be seeing the punk show than being at the beach right now. Like, just it just is what it is. I'm okay with wherever, but yes, anybody wants to find me, my Instagram, that's kind of where I'm spending a lot of time. I share a lot of more raw, vulnerable things there. And then I'm going to be growing my YouTube channel very rapidly in 2019. So those are kind of the best places, YouTube and Instagram. Just search my name, Kimra Luna. Or you can go to my website, freedomhackers.com. If you want to see spaceships flying around, that's really the spot to go.
Yeah, Kimra's website is like cool just to go to and look at and be like, oh,
I
need that.
Yeah, my kids are like, whoa, your website's so cool. Like, they're like really obsessed with it.
It is really cool. It's like a little game. It's really awesome.
It is. That's what I wanted to be. I was like, I wanted to feel like a game. Like, you have to choose your avatar before you before you opt in, and then when you opt in, you can choose the spaceship and it flies all around like the website, so you can choose your freebie. It's really fun.
I know. It is really fun. I was looking at it and I was like, oh, I have such website envy, but one day. Anyway, well, thanks, Kimra, for coming to talk to us. We're talking everyday witches making everyday magic, and Kimra is totally an everyday witch over there, living her life as an everyday witch making everyday magic. So hang out with her online. And Kimra, thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks again to Kimra for joining us on this episode of the Magic on the Inside podcast. I'm Sarah, founder of the Sisters Enchanted. You can find Kimra at freedomhackers.com or on YouTube or Instagram simply as Kimra Luna. And be sure to hang around with us over in our Facebook group or in our Enchanted Journey community. You can find us at thesistersenchanted.com. And until next time, I hope that you have an enchanted rest of your day and can't wait to see what kind of magic you're making in the world.